Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again to get your hangover cure, whatever you're hungover from. If it's black and gold oriented, we've got it here. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. I'm the podcast producer from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and I'm so glad to have you all here with me and my boys, my buddies. So if you're looking and you're noticing, wow, you guys have multiplied. Yeah. I'm going to say it here. Shannon White was with us last week, and I decided after the show, I talked to Tony, and after Tony implored me not to bring him on the show ever again.
My ego.
Because he's like, I cannot compete with that accent, is exactly what Tony was saying. But after we talked, we all have the accent. So I mean, we've got Tony with the Yinzer thing, you with the Shannon with the West Virginia thing, and me with just a conglomeration of whatever. But with that being said, no, Tony and I and the powers that be at BTSC have decided that Shannon is going to be a third member of the Hangover. So welcome aboard, Shannon White.
Woo! Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Just you had just one audition and that's it.
I think it's a good thing, yeah.
So yeah, there you go. And but here's the thing. You know, I was joking, and you know, we have this Slack channel at BTSC where we all communicate. And I think I scared Shannon back in December when I was complaining about everybody using the breaking news channel for regular stuff. And then he never let me forget that. So I do apologize to Shannon, but I'm crazy when I watch the game and then it keeps on dinging. So I'm like, but we use that thing in the off season too. And it's awesome because we're on that every single day, most of us. Mm-hmm. And Tony and Shannon were in a little bit of a battle today. What was that all about? A friendly battle, but a battle.
Not with each other.
Yeah,
with each other. With the comment section. Because you know the comment section is usually pretty good and chill, and the internet in general, social media, there's never any irrational talk. But today, for some reason, the internet just really the comment section, because of some article about fandom, it got out of hand. I didn't see that coming, but I've been squeezing this ball ever since, like every 5 minutes, because it helps me with my anxiety. Every time I feel rage coming on, I squeeze that ball and then I count to 10 and I don't comment.
You have
since like 5 o'clock anyway.
Tony Defeo is a love-hate relationship with the live chat ever since I knew him, because Shannon, I don't know if you know this, I came aboard. My third article was one that I was listening to Pittsburgh radio, and Ed Bouchette was talking about how Bruce Gradkowski is hurt and they're going to have to bring another quarterback in. And it very well could be Michael Vick. So I wrote an article about the possibility of bringing Michael Vick in. And it was my third article ever. Well, at the same time, Tony wrote an article about Michael Vick too. And we were trying to be very objective on it. But sometimes our editors, who I love dearly, they'll play with a headline. And I get it, because I have to, as a podcast producer, I have to play with the headlines too. Mm-hmm. And so the headline kind of turned into, for me, why the Steelers should bring Michael Vick in. And after my third article, Tony can tell you, what kind of emails did I receive?
Lots of mean, nasty, angry emails, because I received the same kind, right?
Were there any death threats?
Yes.
Oh my goodness!
Yes.
It was just they weren't serious, but it was just like I was like, Jeff, I'm like, what have I done here? Because it's not that I broke the story because Bouchette was talking about it, but we were the first one to have an article on it.
Yeah,
that this could possibly happen before it happened, and it was just dumb luck for me. And people went crazy. Oh, the Roonies will never do that. And then a couple days later, they did what? And I'm like, I told you. But anyways, so I'm looking and I'm like, and I didn't know Tony then. And I'm looking and I'm like, man, they hate me already. I have 3 articles. They hate me. And then Tony writes an article and took all of the heat off of me because they immediately, but Tony welcomes it and Tony will be like, come on, bring it on.
I don't mind it. I mean, it's just a little back and forth. I mean, on that site, on the site, it doesn't get too personal. On Facebook and, Twitter can get personal. People are like, hey, you're going bald, because I've never heard that before. But on the comment section, it's not too bad, But that one was really it was crazy. I have a story. Even up to a few years ago, I found on Facebook, instant messenger, you can if you don't know the person and they send you a message, it's called a message request. And I was checking it, just happened to check it a few summers ago. 3 years after that article, and I found another death threat. I hope your family all crashes through the windshield of a car and some kind of horrific accident.
Oh my gosh!
Just because of a backup quarterback, man. But yeah, that was. I'm proud of that article.
That needs to be a show someday. We should save all of the worst comments that we ever get and put them on. I mean, because if they send the email, they're really serious about it. But it's the off season. No reason to get way too bent out of shape. But look at all the people in the live chat here, and our live chat here is different. It's a family, and we really appreciate you. So thank you so much. It's great to have you and all these friends here. And so you're talking about social media, Tony, and I've been on Twitter for a while now, but I just got serious about it probably about a year and a half ago. And I still don't have 500 followers. I'm around 330, which is big for me. I don't have a lot. I need to do more. You do a lot. You do a lot on Twitter. And I think the most famous person that's ever followed me on Twitter is probably Tony Defeo.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And what
about Shannon?
Shannon, do you follow me on Twitter?
I don't do much on Twitter either. I'm trying to, though. I'm at 300 sub as well. So, but I'm not on there very much.
Even Sam Highsmith still hasn't followed me on Twitter. He liked one of he followed, he followed the Australian guys. And I talked to him before the show when he was on the other night. With a great show, by the way, with the Scobros. If you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. But Tony, you've got somebody famous following you right now on Twitter, and we need to talk about this.
Well, he's not following. He just liked it. He liked it.
He liked it. Okay.
He liked the tweet. He didn't follow it. He didn't follow it. Not yet, anyway. I'm trying to get him to follow me. I tried to bait him again today with another one, but it was Tom Arnold of Austin Powers fame. He
married Roseanne, Tony.
That too. Roseanne. He married Roseanne. He was on he became executive producer at some point on that show, I guess. But yeah, I mentioned that I move around like him when I do podcasts, and I sound a lot better when you don't see me because I'm just moving around too much. And he liked it. He liked the tweet. And a few years ago, I made fun of Kevin Hart's height because people always think that I'm not 5'9", and I mentioned his height, and he liked that. And at one point, Drake followed me, and he's a big sports guy. That rapper Drake. Yeah, like 6-7 years ago, he was, and I verified it was him. Like, holy crap! But he unfollowed me, I guess, because he's too important. But yeah, but I think Tom Arnold might be the most famous, as you said. He married Roseanne,
and so you're 1 degree of separation from Roseanne now.
I am. Now, if she likes one of my tweets, wow, that'd be something.
So I think I heard that Tom Arnold is a Steelers fan. I don't know that for sure. So. Maybe that's how that came about, but how much would you love to have him on this show?
That'd be great. I think he's hilarious. I mean, I always thought he was pretty funny. And he had that, wasn't he on the Man Show a number of years ago? Remember the Man Show? I think it was called the Man, not the Man Show. It was some show on whatever Fox Sports Net is now. Him and the one guy from the Pistons and a couple other people. It was like like I think Rob Dibble was on it. Rob Dibble was one of the regulars. So yeah, that was
all right.
cool.
I need to look that up on YouTube. That might be some crazy stuff. So, Shannon, let me ask you: mandatory mini camp just was last week. Is there anything that stands out for you?
No, I guess all the reports about David DeCastro was caught my attention more than anything. The fact that everybody spoke to the local media and he was the only one that didn't, and he never dressed. And so that's concerning considering how valuable and important he is to the offensive line this year. So there's some unanswered questions there.
A lot of people, even BTSC, our Slack channel, they kind of went nuts on Friday when Trey Turner came in for a visit. I don't really get nervous or too excited about a visit anymore because we've had 3 big names visit since the end of March. One being Carl Joseph, who went back to Vegas. I actually went to Vegas for the first time. The other being Malik Hooker, which I still want them to sign him just so I can get a Hooker jersey for my wife. I think that would be entertaining. And the third one now being Trey Turner, a 5-time Pro Bowler. But I don't think there's really much to really worry about with David DeCastro right now. Now, I will get jumped on because, there's some people that are going to say, there's a lot to worry about. He didn't play well last year. Still went to the Pro Bowl last year, and I know that is a possible, I guess it's a popularity contest in some ways. But the way I look at it is that whole offensive line was in flux. He was beat up at the beginning of the year. I think it's a kind of thing that's a mandatory minicamp. So he showed up. So when you see that he shows up, I think that's a big deal right there. What's your thoughts on that, Tony?
Yeah, I think it's fine. With the injury he suffered last year in training, it was an abdominal injury. He didn't have any, as far as I know. Maybe I just forgot about it, but he didn't have a major surgery this year, right? Any kind of surgery, did he?
I think the only thing they said was lower body injury, but they never specified what it was.
Yeah. So, I think if there was something major going on with him and he still wanted to play football, he would have had surgery to correct it. And that, as far as we know, that never happened. So I think it's just a precautionary thing. I think, the fact that he, like you said, he showed up, like you said, Brian, he showed up to minicamp. He's there. I think maybe they just decided to hold him out because I think if he's healthy, they know the kind of player he can be. I don't think as I've said many times, I don't think he would have just fallen off the cliff in 1 year. Because he was a pretty consistent Pro Bowl player, all pro player up until last year. And then he seemed off and lost. So I think if it was anything huge, he would have had surgery, and that never happened. So I think he'll be fine. And it's just them being cautious with a veteran.
Shannon White, have you ever seen David DeCastro be that guy that gravitates to the microphone?
Oh no, he's more reserved and quiet, and it's kind of similar to, say, a Jack Lambert. He'd rather you leave him alone and just let him go play. But I think that, physical injuries, you can have surgery, you can have different things, but if it's a loss of desire, and, with all the people that have left the building, Pouncey and Villanueva and Fowler and all those guys, they were probably his friends. And, and then with the Clem, the new offensive line coach, he says, you're either going to be physical or you ain't going to be playing. And he might not be too happy about that because he's always been more of a technician than he has been a road grader. And he's great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that he might not like some of these changes and it could affect his enthusiasm. I'm more concerned about that than I am an actual injury.
You know what? I'm going to respectfully disagree a little bit with what you said there. And the reason I'm going to say that, I don't think there's a problem whatsoever. I think it's like Ben Roethlisberger on a Wednesday. He doesn't play. He doesn't practice. That might change a little bit this year. I just think, they know what they have in DeCastro. He was hurt right at the beginning of camp last year. Maybe they don't need to see much from him right now. I might be wrong. But what I'm looking at here is,
I hope you're right. I mean, obviously.
Don't you think they need to see what's going on? Not really what's going on, but see everybody else on that team right now and not really worry about it with DeCastro.
Yeah, he's a proven commodity, like you said. And, you want to get the other guys reps, all the reps you can, because they're new. Even if they're not a rookie, they're new to the Steelers, say Coward from, the Bears and people like that. So the more reps you can give them, the better. And if he's fine and he's ready to go and excited about everything, and then, yeah, definitely let everybody else get the reps. He don't need them, and there is a chance he could get injured. And but I just, I've kind of – he didn't seem to be his same enjoyment last year. Even when they were winning, he's always been reserved. But some of the things he said last year in some interviews made you kind of question, once you get to a certain age, you don't feel good when you get up in the mornings the next day and you're taking a beating, and sometimes the desire wanes, and hopefully that's not the case. But, that's a lot of speculation, and I hope you're right. And it was just being precautious.
I just think there's guys that gravitate to the microphone, and then there's guys that like to just come in and do their business. And so I don't worry too much about it. Now I want to bring up Steelers fan 36. Tony, this is an all caps alert. So I'm bringing this up here. Maybe it's something you can't get surgery to fix. Tony.
Well, what would that be? I mean, what could that possibly be? If it's maybe a hamstring injury, but that wasn't the case. I doubt that a hamstring would linger for a year if he's resting. And I don't know what unless it's up here, like Shannon said, maybe just lost his desire. You certainly can't fix that with surgery.
I just think it's nothing. I think it's mandatory minicamp. Show up so there's not a problem, because if there was a problem, he wouldn't show up, and then everything goes to the forefront. They're probably just letting them hang out.
Right. I think that's what it is.
But I'm sure there's meetings. I'm sure there's things that,
think of how many guys in the Luck, a guy like Andrew Luck, who also went to Stanford, and, he's just like, hey, I'm tired of it. I don't want to do it anymore, and walk away. And we definitely don't need that to happen. And if we do, we need to have an insurance policy.
Right.
I just don't think he's walking away. I think everybody, a lot of people with BTSC, a lot of the guys that I really respect, they're thinking that there's smoke and fire here. I don't. I just don't even think this is something to worry about whatsoever. But we'll keep an eye on it. It's going to be really interesting. So what I want to do here is talk about the 2021 regular season, guys. And I want to take stock. But I don't want to take stock of the Steelers. Now, the reason I don't want to take stock of the Steelers is we've been doing that all along. What I want to take a look at are their opponents in all 17 games. And we're going to be taking a look at 14 of them. Did I do the math correctly? Yeah. Is it 15 opponents, or it's 15, 16, 17? Do they have a total 14 or 15 opponents? I would think it would be total of 15.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to do the math in my head.
With that being said, let's take a look at all of them and go ahead and do stock up and stock down for what they've done in the off season, and not only stock up and stock down, or can this game be different than it is right now in June? So we'll go ahead and do that. Before we do that, I want to go ahead and gladly accept $5 from Dave Shipley. Welcome, Mr. White, with my personal 2 favorites. I appreciate that. Man, that's flattering, because I've never been a favorite of anybody.
That's not true.
I think that includes my dogs, my kids, and my wife. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, no, they just like yesterday, they put on a wonderful Father's Day for me once again. So I appreciate that. But anyways, no, thank you. Thank you, Dave Shipley. I really appreciate it. Everybody in our live chat is very valuable to us, and we love having you. I'm looking up here. My gosh, do we have angry faces in Facebook already?
Yeah, I see
that. An angry emoji?
Maybe because we were talking about Tom Arnold in the beginning. Who
maybe
knows?
Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm just rubbing people the wrong way lately. Gosh. Anyways, so let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and take a look at that schedule. But let's go ahead and take a quick break. Okay? We'll take a break. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, we're going to be back in 10 seconds. Check us out if you're on any of our podcast platforms that you download your favorite podcast. But if you do, just going on over to number 2. It's as easy as that, as I'm trying to read the live chat and talk at the same time, and my head is feeling foggy. So anyways, with that being said, we'll be right back here on the Steelers Hangover. Welcome back to the Steelers Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Alongside me is Tony and Shannon White. Do you guys feel rested after that break?
Woo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like a 5-minute nap.
So I got to bring up Steelers fan 36. I love this. Tony, please don't get offended by my cat. So
too late.
Well, that's a cool thing, though. I mean, he gets his cat involved, and it's, one of my favorite jokes. And this joke is almost 40-some years old. It was from Steve Martin's. Steve Martin's one of my favorite stand-up comics of all time. And I know he's done a lot of things, but he had a stand-up routine right around 1979, and it went like this. He's like, the other day I decided to give my cat a bath. And everybody says that you shouldn't give your cat a bath. But it was great. I loved it. My cat loved it. It was awesome. The first stuck to my tongue, but besides that, it was great. All right. I probably butchered that joke, but okay, so and all that, and it wasn't even his cat. It was all caps.
Wow. And now thanks a lot, because now I revealed you helped me reveal my hatred of cat. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm actually afraid of cats, but I'm getting better. There was a cat in 1993. I was dating my old girlfriend moved to California, and I went there to visit, and the cat just stood over me all night long, and I couldn't get any sleep. I just remember being up like this whole time while this cat was like looking at it. And the cat was named Rico. It was named after Richie Sambora from Bon Jovi. And so I just remember being afraid of cats ever since. And my wife loves cats. My daughter wants one. My son wants one. But now my son, Connor, has done me and I feel bad for him. We found out he's allergic to cats. So, and I hate that he's allergic, but it's reduced the cat talk. Now we still have 4 dogs, but and so they're killing me right now, but no cats. So you don't like cats, Tony?
Oh no, I was just kidding. I mean, I'm like you. I'm a little leery of them. I was staying at somebody's house a number of years ago in Boston after watching a game at Fenway, and the cat just kept coming into the room and like you just kept watching me. And cats are so much slower than like dogs. They let you know who they are right away. Like they either love you or they hate you. With cats, you just don't know.
I always think that a cat, when I see cats and they're sizing me up, I'm like, they want to kill me. Shannon, I mean, you live in West Virginia. I mean, isn't it true that it's mandated that you have to own a cat or pay a tax?
Oh no! I love all animals. I'm like Ace Ventura. as long as it's warm blooded. But no, I'm a dog person, but I have nothing against cats. Cats take too much effort.
Right.
You have to, they're offish, and you gotta, they'll let you pet them if they want you to pet them. I like a dog because they're just big, dumb, and stupid. Yeah.
So,
like the one meme said, if a cat could text you, it wouldn't.
Yes.
There's another stand-up comic that I don't even know who this was, but I heard this years ago, and they're like, the difference between dogs and cats. You could be gone for 7 days. You could lay out a bowl for 7 days, and that cat is each day is going to go ahead and eat from the one bowl and have a meal every day. The dog's going to eat in 10 minutes after you leave. The dog's going to eat 7 days worth of food.
That's so true.
Maybe that's why I'm afraid of cats, because I think they're actually smarter than me, and they're more self-sufficient than me. Let's get on to this. Actually, truly, the cats that I hate the most are Bengals. So
very true.
There you go. Let's just talk about that.
Yeah, really.
So and I hate brown cats too. So especially Baker Mayfield. I still don't like that guy. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule. September 12th, 1 p.m. at, I guess it's Highmark Stadium now. The Buffalo Bills play at Highmark Stadium. When did that happen?
I don't even know it changed.
Well,
I didn't either.
Apparently, that's what it is. It's Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. So that's new. How about that? Stock up now for the Bills, just because of Highmark.
Right.
But the Bills are coming off a year in which they went to the AFC Championship game. They had a very good team last year. They did it without playing in front of those obnoxious lunatics, the Bills Mafia.
Right.
And if you're from the Bills Mafia and I'm offending you, well, take that as a compliment, because you're doing your job well, because you're coming off as a lunatic. Shannon, would you ever jump off of an RV into a flaming table?
No.
Tony, have you ever jumped off an RV into a flaming table?
Well, I mean, I played a lot of beer pong before Steeler games, and I may have, because I don't remember, but I wouldn't do it sober. That's for sure.
All right. So, I mean, as much as you love WWE, Tony, I mean, I just couldn't see you doing a Mick Foley into a flaming table. I mean, it just into thumbtacks or having barbed wire bats. No. But let's take a look at this. The Buffalo Bills. Let's look at them not only stock up and stock down for that game against the Steelers, but in their division as well. Shannon, do you feel that the Bills are the new kings of the AFC East, or do they still have to look towards the Patriots and the Dolphins?
No, I think the Bills established themselves last year as the cream of the crop in that division. They got the best quarterback. Josh Allen reminds me of a young Ben. Huge arm, big, mobile, and he showed last year that he could get his accuracy issues corrected, and he just had a heck of a year. And him and Diggs was the closest thing to Ben and Brown that the NFL had last year. And so they're a tough team, very tough team, and they do have a rabid fan base, and in that division, I think they're the cream of the crop.
Tony, Bills stock up or stock down?
Oh, it's definitely stock up. They have a complete football team pretty much, and as Shannon said, Josh Allen came into his own last year, and they brought in Diggs, and they lost in the AFC title game, and I think that's more of a motivating factor for teams than actually losing in a Super Bowl the following year. I think they're going to be hungry to try to take that next step and be the class of the AFC. So I think their stock is up, and I think they're the class of the division for sure.
Let's talk about the Oakland, the Los Angeles, the Oakland again, the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, so they come in week 2. Now, Tony's having flashbacks to 2002. because Tony was at the game in week 2. So was I. I was there too.
Yeah.
And they lost to go 0-2 in that season, but they still went to the playoffs that year. Tony, is this team, that 2002 Raiders team went to the Super Bowl, is this team any close? And are they better than last year? Stock up or stock down?
I don't think they're any better than last year. I think it's just going to be, even if they are, it's going to be almost impossible to beat the Chiefs in that division. I think the Chiefs are still the head and shoulders of everybody else in the AFC West. So I think they're about the same as last year. And I think it's a week 2 win, a week 2 game they should win. Although we're not getting into that, but I think they're about the same.
You can say that. That's okay. Shannon White, the Raiders. Where are you with them?
There's a disconnect between Gruden and Carr. I don't know why that is. The year before last, I think it was, was reports that Carr cried on the field over something. I don't remember what happened exactly, but they said there's no crying in football, but I just don't feel like he's Gruden's guy. I think Gruden would rather have somebody else. And I think he would probably do better somewhere else. But they've got a solid team. He's a quarterback. They got Jacobs. That tight end, I can't think of his name. He's a matchup nightmare.
Waller.
Yeah, that guy's incredible. So a lot of it will depend on their defense. But I think that's a game that the Steelers should win. But it don't matter where the Raiders are, whether it's Oakland, L.A., Las Vegas, they just give the Steelers fits for some reason.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That'll always concern me every time we play them.
So here's the thing with the Raiders for me. I think they're a last-place team in that division this year. I think that the Broncos, and we'll talk about the Broncos a little bit later. We'll talk about the Chargers a little bit later. But I think they are better fit to compete with Kansas City than the Raiders. So I'm going to agree with you guys and say stock down. Mm-hmm. But I am going to be cautious, like Shannon White just said. So there you go. Let's look at week number 3, and we'll go to the schedule here. And week number 3 means that the Steelers actually. Okay, I was trying to stall, and now my schedule is only going to the Raiders game. So let me just try to move down here, and I am having problems. So Tony's going to tell you more about how much he loves cats. Now I got it here. Speaking of cats, the Bengals, September 26th, 1 p.m. at Pittsburgh. Now I remember another week 3 at Pittsburgh. The 2006 season, Ricardo Coakley had a muff of a punt. It didn't work out too well for Pittsburgh. And are we going to have that again? Are the Bengals better? Shannon White?
It'll all depend on Burrows and how his knee, the rehab goes, and once he gets, it'll be early in the season, so he might be a little tentative, or takes him a little bit of time to trust that knee, but he's the real deal. He's incredibly accurate. I was a fan of his coming out, still am, and they've got a lot of holes, but I think they've tried to fill some of them. Getting Hilton in their secondary. Mike's a tough little guy, and he's got a lot of leadership. He brings an attitude with him that I think if you team him with Bates and some of the other guys they got on defense, that they could be some improved. But it's all going to depend on Burrows and how that knee heals.
Steelers fan 36 asks a very poignant question. Anyone know of another word for a cat we could use to describe the Bengals? Felines. So that's where we'll go with that. Now, Tony, let's talk about the Bengals. I think this is a better team. I don't think it's a team to worry about. And if the Steelers are who they say they are and don't take them for granted, that they could be an annoying little brother, but I don't think they're ready to compete for the division. But would you give them a stock up here?
Oh yeah, they're definitely getting better. They've definitely improved. They've added a lot of nice young talent, and I think, like Shannon said, I think Burrow is the real deal. I think he's going to be a star in this league. Unfortunately, hopefully later rather than sooner. But it's usually not that way with special quarterbacks. They usually come into their own fairly quickly, and they added some weapons. The only thing I'm not so sure about with them is their offensive line. I was hoping that they would, for their sake, they would draft Sewell number one, but they drafted Chase, the receiver, and they added another receiver, which is good because they can, that's going to give him a nice set of receivers for the future. But I think their stock's up, but they still have a long way to go to be a true contender.
Until they take care of that offensive line, they are not giving respect to Joe Burrow. And I'm telling you what, the Steelers had their way with him last year and put him on the shelf for the rest of the season, which was a shame because I agree with Shannon White. I think this guy is the real deal. I think he's a fantastic quarterback. I have no reason to even hate this guy. I don't put him on the same level as Baker Mayfield.
Right.
So, and then I can get into my, somebody mentioned that they were sad that I haven't sung yet, but I did this last year. I have a song called Baker Sucks to Cleveland Rocks that maybe one of these, maybe if I get enough super chat in the next season, in the season, maybe I'll go ahead and sing that for you. But with that being said, the Bengals, I think they should not be taken for granted. That's all I'm going to say. But is their stock up? Yeah, it's slightly up. But they're not taking care of business when you wait till the second pick to get the kid out of Florida. And that's really, I thought that was a reach there. Getting the wide receiver, Jamar Chase can be fantastic, but if it doesn't matter who you have as a wide receiver if you're getting your quarterback killed. Now, we talk a lot about the offensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I get it, but they weren't getting Ben killed. There's a difference. They weren't opening holes, and we had that whole discussion when it comes to Najee Harris. But they did address the offensive line in other places, so that's why I'm not as concerned with that. Oh, I'm sorry. Andrew Wilbar just corrected me, and he's right. I was thinking of Stone, but Jackson Carman was Clemson, so I completely screwed that one up. So thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. Jackson Carman was Clemson. I thought that guy was maybe a third-round pick. So, but they're excited about him. So, and it's the Bengals. So I'll never understand what goes on in Cincinnati. Heck, they put chili on spaghetti. So that's here's an interesting one. The Green Bay Packers at historic Lambeau Field, the Arctic Tundra. Well, it's not going to be like that in October. At least let's hope not. But October 3rd, they travel to Green Bay. Does the stock up or stock down? Does it hang on Aaron Rodgers coming up? Yeah, absolutely. Stock's down if Aaron Rodgers is not there. But here's my question. Say Aaron Rodgers is there, which I kind of think he's going to be, but even if he's there, did they do anything? Did they do anything much at all to improve that team? Shannon, let's start with Tony.
I don't think so. Didn't they lose a couple of offensive linemen? And and they had to address that in the draft. It's all, as you said, it's all going to hinge on Aaron Rodgers. If he's not there, it's a completely different team for them. So, but even with him there, I don't. They still might be the class of that division, but not by a wide margin. I'd say their stock's down. So,
Andrew Wilbar says when Lambeau Field becomes the Love Boat, talking about Jordan Love, watch out. He's going to surprise some people. That's really interesting. Dusk Thunder is saying they had a solid draft. I just don't think they really did enough to really make that team better. So, I'm not going to say, I'm going to say it's just even. I think it's the same team pretty much. Shannon, what's your thoughts?
Well, you just stole what I was going to say, because I was going to say that I think they're even. I think that, the only thing I would say is maybe maybe it's stock down, because when your franchise quarterback is that unhappy, it's just going to permeate through every other part of the team. And their defense, especially in the playoffs, they didn't have difference makers, and they struggled to get off the field. And so once the Buccaneers could put pressure on Rodgers, and even some of the coaching decisions there in the playoffs, whether to go for it or play passive, which they played passive, Rodgers didn't like that. I don't think he's happy with anything going on in Oregon. Feel respected, and that's not a formula for a winning football team. So I'd say stock down.
Okay, and I'll agree with that. Tony has asked to be traded a few times to Steelers.com,
Right.
and he's even threatened to hold out.
Right.
And it's not about money. It's just about,
after Sunday night, I watched it Sunday night. The great show you did with your dad, he seems like a natural. So I just feel like, and now you have Shannon. I feel like I'm being phased out. It's like the whole AB Juju thing from a few years ago. I just feel threatened. That's why.
I tell you what I'm going to do. I tell you what I'm going to do, because Tony, that could not be further from the truth. So I'm just going to do this. There you go. You're in the top spot now. Check that out. And Tony, you're that important to me. I don't subscribe to the brother from another mother, but you and I, we would have been tight if we hung out in high school and college. We would be tight now. We are tight now. You're my boy. You're never going away. You're my buddy, so don't worry about that. But go ahead.
Can I still live off campus at training camp?
I love it. Thanks for everything you said about the show with my dad. I appreciate it. It was
a fantastic show. I really loved it.
He sent me a message. He's like, "Hey, I'll come back anytime."
I enjoyed it too, man. That was excellent.
It was a lot of fun. That is what I'm going to look like. I guarantee you that's exactly what I'm going to look like in about 25 years. So now I'd love to have I would love to have Dad in as an analyst. Maybe we'll do that every once in a while in season. We'll bring him back sometime. So I appreciate everybody saying that. Yeah, it was a blessing to have him here. He came down for breakfast. My mom and dad came down for breakfast, and we had a nice little brunch that the family made after the show. So it was really good, and he was all proud of it. So thank you for saying that. Let's go ahead and only if you're lucky will you look like that bad. So Steelers fan 36. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That makes me feel really good, because you just said that my dad's a good looking man, and I'll agree with that. So
very regal.
Yes. Regal? He's gonna get a big head. Regal. I like that. The only Regal I know is Lord Steven Regal or William Regal from wrestling. So let's talk about, we mentioned the Denver Broncos a little bit earlier, and I don't know if Big E Bronco's on the show. He shows up every once in a while. But the Broncos, man, they're an interesting team. I think last year things fell apart early with injuries with that team. Shannon, we'll start with you on the Denver Broncos.
Well, I wrote an article about how I would have considered the Steelers drafting Drew Lock, because I liked him coming out of Missouri, and I think that they're finally starting to get some pieces around him. I think signing Gordon wasn't necessarily the right move to make it when they did, because they already had Phillip Lindsay, and of course, he's had trouble staying healthy since then. But they have got him some receivers now, and got that first round tight end last year. But like you said, the injuries to Von Miller right off the bat, and that just really decimated their defense. And in that division, having to go up against the Chiefs twice, and the Chargers and the Raiders, and that kind of put them behind the 8 ball early. But they had a good draft, and they could be on the way up, in my opinion, especially if Drew Lock works out.
Tony Defeo.
I like them. I think they have a lot of good young talent. I think they have a good team. And having Von Miller back is going to help. And if Drew Lock can figure things out, then that's a pretty good wild card team at the very least. So yeah, I think their stock's up.
So here's the confusion in Denver right now. They still think that a lot of people still think that Aaron Rodgers is going to Denver. I don't think that's going to happen, but I like what they have in Drew Lock. And if he gets injured in the Steelers game last year,
right?
Their receivers they had nothing to play with. Look, when they played New Orleans last year with a running back from the practice squad at quarterback.
That was ridiculous.
So, with that, I just think that defense, which needed some help, and like Shannon just said, you get Von Miller back. That's going to be a strong defense. I love their draft. Now, there's a lot of people in the national media that didn't love their draft. I have a friend that's a big Broncos fan that is very smart. And he's like, you know what? I hate to say it, but I love the draft. Mm-hmm. And he's not one that brags on his team. And we talked about so much Javonte Williams. Tony and I we were on the Javonte Williams bandwagon a lot to come to Pittsburgh. Him playing up in Mile High with that offense and that defense, they're going to win some games because that running game is going to be better. Is Melvin Gordon still there? I believe he is.
Yeah, I think he's still there. But they still have Lindsey and everything too. So even it's going to be a good stable of backs.
So you know what, that's going to be a stock up team. I don't think that's a gimme for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I love it being at home. If this was on the road, I'd be more afraid. I just feel like Pittsburgh's going to be a lot better team this year. So let's go ahead and look at more of the schedule. But I agree with the stock ups on the Denver Broncos. The Seattle Seahawks. Here's an interesting team because they were a good team last year. They had Russell Wilson, who looked like an MVP candidate, and they still have him. So what are your thoughts? And I'm going to start with Tony on this. Stock up, stock down for the Seattle Seahawks.
I think it's about the same. I think it's even. I think they're still a great team, a contender in the NFC. They just have to find a way to win that division. That's been their problem. They can't seem to win the NFC West. But I think they're a really good team, and they're going to be Russell Wilson. He's going to be a handful to deal with whenever they play them.
Shannon.
I would agree. I think it's even. Russell Wilson reportedly wasn't happy either. And it seems like that's relationship's a little bit better now. But the offensive line still isn't great. And the defense, if I ain't mistaken, was next to last or 30th in pass defense. They give up 300 some yards a game. And, you don't think of that when you think of Seattle. You think of, having a great defensive backfield, but they don't anymore. And so if they can clean that up and give Wilson a little help on the defensive side, but I think that they're either even or down to proven otherwise.
I'm going to go with even Steven on them as well. Yeah, they're another team I just don't feel like that increased their chances. Now they were looking at guys like there was some guys that Russell Wilson was lobbying to bring in that would have been a lot of firepower. They got out of the they got out of the Julio Jones sweepstakes. There was a lot of guys you thought. I was waiting for somebody to throw it in, and I was like, wow, they didn't do it, but Steelers fan 36 did it. I think Seattle has 2 losses bad. So yeah, I'm always going to get, if you guys don't know that Seattle has 2 losses, listen to the preview. It comes up all the time. This was about 2 years ago. You guys don't know this story?
No.
Oh, okay. So Dave was saying something. We were talking about teams with 2 losses. He was saying something. I started looking at the live chat, and they're like, Brian, what are your thoughts? I thought they were still on. I'm like, well, Seattle's 2 losses. And they're like, well, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So anytime you bring up Seattle, it's Seattle has 2 losses. So that's from 2 years ago, too. It never goes away. Let's go ahead and look at the schedule. And I love it. That means you guys are paying attention. Mm-hmm. The Cleveland Browns. If it's brown, flush it down. But is it going to come back on you? Because is this a flushable team now? Shannon, let's start with you.
I wish I could say yes, but I honestly don't believe so. Nick Chubb is my favorite running back in the NFL. His contact balance is incredible, and he's just he's so hard to tackle. And then they got Hunt behind him. I think that even OBJ should be coming back, and Jarvis Landry. Somebody was kind of disrespecting him on our site the other day in a conversation and I'm like, Landry is a baller. I mean, I won't take nothing away from him. He's a heck of a receiver. And I was hoping that Mayfield wouldn't be the guy there because I knew that he could be. Whoever went in there has to have a certain amount of cockiness. He has to be certain amount. He has to be so confident because of the expectations in that rabid fan base. And I think he's been able to do that. They got the best offensive line in the division, if not the AFC. And, of course, I don't think Javon Clowney is going to add anything to that team, but their defense was already improving. So they're not going away. I wish they would, but I don't think they are.
Tony, stock up, stock down. And why?
Stock up. I think they're feeling it now after having that victory over the Steelers in the wild card game last year and kind of giving the Chiefs an okay game. So I think Baker Mayfield. It's just a matter of him taking that next step. But I think usually with teams like this, they keep evolving and or ascending in the positive direction because they have just so much talent. And now they believe in themselves. I think their stock is up.
I think the stock is up too. I still think Baker Mayfield is a weak link, but that's just me because I can't stand the guy. And I think they could have better, but that's going to be a very dangerous team all the way around. Plus they got my man Schwartz from Auburn. That's the guy that that was my draft crush this year. That guy is going to be super fast. And now I'm going to have to hate him. And because he's wearing brown and orange. And I actually like the color brown. So there you go. Let's go to the NFC North, and we're going to take two teams here with time, with that clock getting close to the top of the hour. Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions. Tony, could we start with you?
Sure. I'll say the Lions are their stock's down because I think Stafford is a better quarterback than Goff, and they traded him. And I think the Bears, their stock is up because of Justin Fields. I think that was a big acquisition for them.
Shannon.
Yeah, I think that Goff, they had to get something back in that, but I don't think he's a good fit. I think they're a rebuilding team, and so they're a serious candidate to get the number one pick next year. And the Bears, Fields was a good pickup. They needed a quarterback, and I think he was the right choice. And there'll be some growing pains there, but you have to start by finding your franchise guy, and I think he can be that maybe.
I actually don't think the stock is up for either team, but that's just me here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this team now. Very interesting team. We talked about another team from the AFC West, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers will be at home against the Steelers on November 21st, my nephew's birthday, which he's all bummed because he wanted to go see the Steelers on his birthday. I'm like, I'm not taking you to LA. Sorry about that. But even though LA is I would move to LA in a heartbeat. I love Los Angeles. But Chargers, Tony, I'm going to start with Shannon here.
Oh, you switched it up on us there again. Justin Herbert is the real deal. Again, like Burrows, except he's a tall gunslinger, can move around. He's Josh Allen esque, but already more. It took Allen a while to find himself, but that team, he was that team last year. But they could put points on the scoreboard, but their defense couldn't stop nobody hardly. But they had all them injuries, so if they can get healthy with what they've added, I think the stock's up for the Chargers.
Tony. Chargers.
Stock up. Herbert is a stud, and they've kind of rebuilt that line. And if they're healthier this year, they're going to be a better team. They had a lot of tough losses last year for being as bad as they were. They were competitive, so I think they're going to be a better team. Stock up.
You know what? I love the Chargers this year. I love their number 1 pick going with a big offensive lineman. I mean, I thought they stole him where they got this guy. I mean, Rashawn Slater, I just think's fantastic. And I really like Herbert. I think Herbert is possibly your MVP this year if he goes the Mahomes route. Now, look, I'm not saying they're going to win the division. I don't think Kansas City is going away. But all I'm going to say about the Chiefs and the Chargers, yeah, cha-ching for that team. The CH is going to roll that division. So let's keep it going. And so here's a team, stock up, stock down, a very muy interesante when I always talk about this team. It is the Baltimore Ravens.
Tony. I actually think their stock's down a little bit. They didn't really do a ton in free agency. I think they've kind of plateaued over the last few years. I think their stock's down a little bit.
Shannon,
I guess Tony's forgot that they got Villanueva. I mean,
I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right,
yes. No, I agree. I think that at the most they're even. They're always going to be dangerous because of Jackson, but until he proves that he can take that next step as a quarterback, and not just be a great athlete, one of the best runner quarterbacks you'll ever see. But I just don't think they've added enough that you could say their stock's up. So I'd say even.
I love their draft, so I'm going to say slightly up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Norseman. Skull! Minnesota Vikings. Shannon.
I guess that as long as they got Kirk Cousins, they've got a strong running game and solid receivers. But every time I think they're going to do something in that division, they fall short. It seems like Kirk Cousins has trouble in big games, and so I think I think their stock's down.
Tony.
I'd say even because they had they were contenders for a couple of years here, and last year was a bad year for them. But I think they're even this year.
All right, now for the next one that we look at, I'm just gonna say, guys, there's no way you're gonna say stock down for the Tennessee Titans. Am I correct?
Nah, they're a juggernaut.
What do you like most about the Titans, Tony?
I like the fact that they got Bud in there and they drafted I can't remember, they drafted pass rusher too. Not that it's you can't talk in absolutes about a draft pick, but I think they had such a poor pass rush last year for being a really good team. If you add Bud to the mix, I think it's going to do wonders for their pass rush, and it's going to the offense speaks for itself. Tannehill's a really good quarterback. Obviously, Derrick Henry's a beast. So yeah, I think they're that. I like the fact that they brought in Bud.
Yes. Now, Tony, they brought in 2 big name defensive backs in the draft, and Caleb Farley and Elijah Molden. As far as the pass rush, they did not bring anything in, with the exception. Well, they had brought in a defensive lineman, somebody we know from Pitt, Rashad Weaver. But besides that, they worked on the secondary quite a bit. They added Dylan Raduns from North Dakota State as offensive tackle. Monty Rice is a good linebacker. That was a really nice draft for them. And they even brought in 2 wide receivers later in the draft, one from LSU, one from Louisville. But the thing about this team, they brought in Julio Jones as well to go along with AJ Brown. Yeah.
I forgot about that already. Jeez, I forgot about it.
We might have stolen your thunder, Shannon. So go ahead. Your thoughts on the Titans.
Well, kind of, but Julio Jones, adding him to that offense, which was already one of the best in the league, not just the AFC. And I'm a big AJ Brown fan. I mean, I wanted the Steelers to have a shot at him. because I think he's a stud. But, the only thing they added to that pass rush that Tony mentioned was Bud. And I think Bud will help him, but he's not going to have the other pass rushers around him like he had in Pittsburgh. So I don't think their secondary was necessarily their weakness last year. I believe it was the pass rush. And I don't think they improved it all that much. So I'll say that I think they're even though they're already one of the best teams in the AFC.
Okay, well, this is a team that I like a whole heck of a lot. Hope I'm wrong. I really hope that I'm wrong about the Tennessee Titans, but we will wait and see. I do love the Bud pickup as well. But you bring up some really interesting things. Andrew Wilbar in the live chat brings up some really interesting things as well. So he doesn't think he brought up the fact that Corey Davis had more yards than Julio Jones. So that's going to be an interesting one. There's one more to talk about, guys, and it is the defending AFC champions. 2 times. They won the last 2. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Shannon, I'm going to start with you on the Chiefs.
I just think that when you look at all they did for that offensive line, that was, they went out of their way to make sure that they're going to give Mahomes protection because he already has the weapons. And so the stock has to be up because in the playoffs, that was their Achilles heel, and they got protection. So I think stock's got to be up, and they're the team to beat till proven otherwise.
Tony.
Yeah, the stock's up. I mean, like Shannon said, they were a pretty complete team with the exception of the offensive line, and that proved to be a pretty big deal in the Super Bowl. So that's to say just the offensive line. But, yeah, like Shannon said, they revamped it. They added to it. So you can't say anything other than, in my opinion, that the stock is up.
Stock is definitely up in KC, but I do contend that division is not going to be a runaway for the Chiefs.
Right.
I think it's going to be slightly tougher, but that cream will rise to the crop. So here we go. Did I even say that right? Okay, I screwed that up completely.
You said cream of the crop.
Yeah, that cream will rise to the top. All right. I think it's time for us to get on out of here. So with that being said, Tony, any final thoughts?
No, this is fun. I learned a lot. I really am enjoying Shannon on the show. He really grounds the show, and you can tell you used to play football, right, Shannon? You said you played, and you could tell it really comes through. I'm really enjoying it, and of course, I always enjoy being with you, Brian. So it was fun tonight.
Shannon, final thoughts?
I'm just loving it. I feel comfortable and I appreciate you guys being so warm and gracious and patient as I'm trying to figure out how to do this thing.
Well, that's no problem because we're just glad to have you here. Everybody in the live chat, you know how much we appreciate you. So thanks so much. Make sure you're checking out other shows here on the YouTube channel. We're talking about the Scobro Show. We're talking about it's Know Your Enemy in season, off season. It's called The Curtain Call. It's Michael Beck. It's Jeffrey Benedict. The preview with Jeff Hartman, Dave Schofield, and myself was on Thursdays. Tony, that's his solo show. I love it. He used to have brunch, and I was like, heck, I'm drinking now. So it's Friday night 6-pack with Tony. On Saturdays, it's Touchdown Under, and Sunday, until the season starts, it's Tales from 2 a.m. Tales from 2 a.m. goes away once the season starts because then we have something a little more important, and that's called the Steelers post-game show, mostly on Sundays. But if you are just checking out the stuff on YouTube and not downloading stuff on our audio only, you're missing some great shows. So definitely check out Let's Ride with Jeff Hartman, the live mic tomorrow morning that's going to run at 5 a.m. on any of your favorite podcast platforms. That's with Michael Beck. On Thursdays, you're checking out the Stat Geek with Dave Schofield as well, BTSC editor. So that's something you need to check out. Tony and I are doing the retro show. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs from 1985 coming up at the end of the week. And I also do Factor Fiction as well. Matty Peverell from Australia, he has his own show on Wednesdays. It's called The War Room. We're adding some stuff. We're going to add so much more stuff. So the new fall schedule, when we come out in the season, it's going to be amped up. You're going to have so many places to go. No one else in the blogosphere. And unless you're a radio station, you don't have the programming that BTSC has on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So make sure you check it out. So Shannon White, Tony Defeo, thanks so much for joining me. For Shannon, for Tony, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You can call me Bad. And I want you to do 3 things. Be safe. All right, good. I was waiting for Tony to do that. Second, be true to yourself. That's one of my most important things. And 3, always be, Tony?
Behind the steel curtain.
All right. Once again, just when you think you've got all the answers, Shannon White, Tony Defeo, BAD. Tony?
We keep changing the questions.
Christians.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks so much. We love you.